Hey everyone, this is Alpaco and I wanted to talk about the picture modes on the Olympus OMD E-M1 Mark III. First, be aware there's two picture modes, one for photos and one for videos. For photos, go to Shooting Menu 1. I only use natural and a custom mode, which I change the settings of natural to a flatter profile. For video, go to the video menu, then specification settings, and then to picture mode to turn on or off. Turning off will automatically revert back to photo picture modes. For video, there is only FLAT and OMLOG400. As I said before, I only use natural and custom for my photo picture modes. A helpful hint when using the photo picture modes is to turn off any unused picture profiles. To do this, you just go to the gear, then scroll to D1 and go to picture mode settings. Here, you can uncheck any of the picture profiles that you don't use to keep the picture mode menu clean. As you can see, there are a lot of picture profiles. Here, I show how all the picture profiles that I recommend using look like ungraded. Olympus made a 709 LUT for FLAT and OMLOG400, but here's the weird thing. You can only find it in the European and Asian Olympus sites. For whatever reason, the American site no longer has a link for them. I link it in the description for you guys if you don't already have it. In this test, I don't do anything but load the LUT on the footage. My favorite tool to use for this is Filmkit Unflat, which not only lets you load the LUT, but lets you change the profile of the LUT to your liking. Comparing both flat and log with the LUTs present very minor differences, and those differences are only in saturation. I thought I'd try adding the flat LUT to the custom profile to see how that would look, and it looks interesting. Not sure how I feel about it, but you may like it for your own projects. Here I compare each of their color accuracies for those that may be interested. They're all close to each other with the LUTs applied. It's one thing looking at a card of colors. Looking at an actual scene and seeing the color science is the true test. Here I compare all the profiles. I wanted to be 2 stops overexposed to see how much of the scene I can save. Looking at each profile after some minor adjustments, it's very hard to tell them apart. With natural profile, I typically shoot correctly exposed or go half stop over, but I just wanted to compare it to the other profiles in this situation. It crushes the shadows when you bring it back down, and that's expected. The custom profile saves a bit more of the shadows, but it still does get crushed a bit. Again, this is likely since I shot 2 stops over. Both the flat and log profiles have a bit more dynamic range compared to the natural and custom profiles. When you shoot with flat or log profiles, you want to expose to the right. Here we could see that the flat profile saves more of the highlights, but the log profile saves more of the shadows. Luckily, there isn't a color shift like there is while using the Ninja 5. Link to that video above. I omitted this custom with 709 LUT when you're 2 stops over because I don't recommend doing this at all. It just looks bad. I do recommend shooting natural and custom when you're used to shooting properly exposed up to a half stop over. Overall, they all look pretty good. The custom and natural profiles are my preferred profiles, and then flat. I don't really use the log profile very much, and that's simply because once I adjust the image to something I really like, it ends up just looking like natural profile anyway, so I figured why even bother. The last thing I test is how the profiles affect autofocus. I've noticed that the photo profiles have a better video autofocus. I suspect it's because there's more contrast in the image. As I stated, I do prefer to use natural and custom profiles mostly out of the convenience. But if you use autofocus and don't own any Olympus Pro lenses, then I think you'd find more benefits using the photo profiles in video mode. Just to remind you, I do link the LUTs in the description. I hope this helps you. Thanks for watching and have a great day.